What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 14 of Skins in the Game, where John and Tim go into what's going on in the DC sports world. How you doing today?
Doing good. We're one day late thanks to the wonderful hurricane or tropical storm that came up the coast.
Yeah, I lost power yesterday. I couldn't get out of my neighborhood until from about 8:30 yesterday morning till about 7 o'clock last night, and my power was not back until what about 4 o'clock, 4:30 today. So
Wow.
yeah.
I saw the pictures your wife posted on Facebook, and it was, yeah, you guys got waylaid.
Oh yeah, it was intense. There was a tornado right across the other right across my street, right on the other side of the street that
Did you
knocked out
know
power
the
lines.
tornado? Did you know the tornado was there? Or you heard about that after the fact?
I heard about it out. It was a small one. It wasn't like some category 5 or anything. It literally just like came up, but it definitely knocked down some trees and some power lines. And
Probably more like a microburst than a tornado, but because
basically, yeah, it was super small. I mean, it wasn't. We don't live in Tornado Alley or anything like that. It's not like I have to worry about that. But it was pretty intense all of a sudden, where it's like, yeah, the power lines were all down on the street, trees were all over the place. My neighborhood's pretty secluded, right near the water. That there's really only one way out, and there was many trees down on
I
that way
saw.
out. So, yep. But
Glad you guys got through it safely.
exactly. And we're here now. And also, before we get started, did you hear what happened in Beirut?
Oh my God! I said, did you see the explosion?
Yeah, that's insane. If any of you have not seen what happened in Beirut, which would be impossible at this point because it's all over every single piece of news, just YouTube Beirut explosion. It's just a super gnarly big explosion. But yeah, you've seen all the different angles and things of that thing.
Well, I know I saw a couple of different people taking videos like on cell phones, and they seemed to be miles away, and they were watching apparently something caught on fire first
Uh huh.
because they were videotaping the fire, and then when the explosion took place and the shockwave and debris came through, it like knocked people's phones out of their hands. It rocked the cars that people were in. I mean, it was like I don't even know. It was well, they said it was 1,000 times more ammonium nitrate than what they used in the Oklahoma City bombing. So that gives you an idea of that from a van basically destroyed the front of a building. So 1,000 times more than that is what they got, and it was like the aftershock, and then the videos afterwards of what it did to the buildings was just amazing.
Yeah, I saw that
So
before and after picture. It's just a hole the size of a football field, at
yeah,
least, maybe even bigger. I mean, the thing is ridiculous. But yeah, it's when I first saw there was like 70 plus people killed and like 3,000 injured. My initial thought after seeing that explosion, I said, "That's it." I mean, this
yeah,
looked
and
like it killed 2,000
I
people
was
on the
surprised.
spot.
Today they updated it to 135, and they said they're still looking for survivors, so that's likely to climb. But yeah, I thought the same thing with the size of that explosion. I was surprised there weren't thousands of people dead.
Yeah, it was a gnarly explosion. But yeah, all right. Well,
Anyway, enough of the current events. Let's
yeah,
get back to sport.
we'll go ahead and jump in here. All right. So what we got first is Alex Smith is reportedly looking good as he's working out. Ron Rivera said a couple of things in his last interview that he was pleasantly surprised. So he said, "I can envision it is excuse me, talking about like is he going to be in the mix?" He goes, "I can envision it." And I said the big thing is that if he can do the things we needed him to do and that he needs to do to help him stay on the football field, he will definitely be a part of the conversation. So, and he also said he did some really good things last week. He went through all 4 workout days, had no residual effects the next morning, which is always important because the next day usually tells. And he comes out and he is just raring to go. We'll see how this week goes, and we'll go from there.
So this is basically an extension of the conversation we had last week.
Yeah, but I would have thought for sure that like okay, he passed a like as I said last week that okay he passed the doctor's thing of like okay, he's not going to re-injure his leg, but I didn't think that he was going to get any sort of praise as far as like okay, he could actually have a chance of playing. And from the workouts and stuff like that, it seems like there's might be some outside chance here.
Well, and let me be clear. What I meant by an extension was any. I know you gave the introduction and what you said that was new, but any conversation we have from that point forward about what we think about it is an extension to what we were talking about last week,
Mm-hmm.
which is you think or had said that if Alex Smith is in a position to start, that they should start him. And I took the opposite of that. It's Dwayne Haskins' team right now, and unless he blows it, they got to continue to let him develop. So that's what I meant by the extension of that conversation. So in practice, Alex Smith is looking good. That's fantastic. I feel great for him. I'm so glad that he's able to walk with what he went through and how many surgeries and brushes with death from infections and all that he had. The fact that he's even in any kind of conversation is amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't want to downplay that, but I stand behind what I said last week, which is that short of Dwayne Haskins doing something or being in a position where you think he's totally unready to play, you have got to let Dwayne Haskins start this year and just see what happens. And having Alex Smith as a backup where if he starts faltering or something happens, you got a serviceable guy coming in, but he's a 36-year-old guy. I'm sorry, but he's basically walking on a peg leg from what I've seen. The video or the pictures of his leg are actually kind of gross. But again, love the guy, feel great that he's in the position he's in, and let him keep working out. But I think it would be a bad mistake right now to start him over Haskins unless there's a legitimate reason why Dwayne it's a problem with Dwayne, I don't care what Alex Smith does, unless Dwayne Haskins falters in some big way, you got to let him keep going. That's my opinion.
That's fine. I stand on what I said last week. I want to win some games immediately in Ron Rivera's tenure. I think Alex will win more games than Dwayne Haskins if healthy. I still stand also on what I said that I do not think he's going to be healthy enough to play, but it is crazy these reports that we keep getting where it's like he keeps proving he takes another step forward to proving us wrong. I mean, he hasn't proven me wrong yet, but he takes another step forward every time we look at every time we turn around. Ron Rivera also did say, to your point about Haskins failing or anything, he said that he also praised Haskins for putting in work that he's done, and he said he's not far behind Kyle Allen as far as the playbook is concerned. He says he's put a lot of work in studying the playbook. So this tells me that Kyle Allen is basically he's out of the conversation completely now, because that you were saying in your hypothetical before that maybe Dwayne doesn't quite get the playbook right away, that Kyle starts. But from the sounds of this, it seems like Dwayne is plenty caught up enough to keep up with Kyle Allen.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is that Ron Rivera is saying what he needs to say, which is he's not going to come out and say, look, Alex Smith has no business being on the field. He's nowhere near ready. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to come out and say that. So saying, hey, he's done some things that look good on the field, and I could see there being a competition. He didn't say there is a competition. He didn't say he's going to. He just basically said all these hypotheticals that were very positive to a guy that's on his team, which I'm sure Alex will appreciate that, and Alex will take away from it what he needs to, which will be that, hey, the coach is behind me, he's pulling for me. And so really what Ron Rivera said, I can't envision any smart coach saying anything differently short of if Alex Smith couldn't play, got out there and tried to play and couldn't, of saying, look, he tried and he's not able to play. But as long as he's out there and practicing as a coach, you have to say exactly what he said.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair criticism of what I'm saying. That's fine. But at the same time,
it's not a criticism, it's just a fact.
At the same time, I guess at least we're not hearing the other thing that you just said. As you said, if he came out there and he couldn't play, then you would have to say, okay, well, I'm like it is what it is. But it's like he's on a path to potentially play this season, or in the future in general. Maybe not this season, but it seems like he's on a path to play, which is absolutely insane. But as I'm totally with you as far as I'm happy for him, I hope he does well, and if he plays, that I think will win more games than we would with Haskins this season.
And one more thing that I just wanted to add for this subject is I am curious, like I said, with the pictures that I saw of his leg, I am curious to see how Alex Smith looks standing behind the center and what his leg looks with a sock on and in his uniform, because, like I said, that thing was, I mean, there was no
Yeah.
muscle on it. It was skinny. It was, I'm sorry, it was decrepit looking. And the fact that he can walk on it is amazing. And I would be interested to see how he would look on the field running around and how obvious that leg and its condition would be.
Well,
Or
with
is
the
he gonna put
muscle
some kind of plastic?
well, the
What's
muscle
that?
with the muscle transplants, it's now big. It looks bigger than his. I think it's his right leg that's hurt. It looks bigger than his left leg because of all the
Oh,
muscle
so
transplants.
Oh, well, I thought what I saw was, yeah, they had transplanted some muscle, but it didn't look like it was a smooth.
Oh, it's not
Um,
smooth whatsoever. Oh, it's bumpy and it's weird looking. But as far as like size, I'm pretty like it's a big, huge bump on the
Yeah.
front of his leg, and to me, it even looks like it might even have a little bit more size on the front of his leg than he does on his left leg. But it's absolutely weird looking and crazy looking. It's not, it's not a beautiful plastic surgery, you know, going under the knife. It's
and and
duct
sorry,
tape
go ahead.
production. It's almost like a
Right.
duct tape production. You know, they let's put a little muscle here. Let's put some muscle here.
So, and I know they're not really allowed to hit quarterbacks in the legs, but as an opposing defender, how do you approach that when you see and know the condition of what his leg is? And if he's in a game and he's playing well, how do you think defenders are looking at him? Are they like honorable and saying, "Look, I'm going to stay away from that leg because of how it was hurt," or "Boy, he's kicking our butt, and if I just accidentally fall the wrong way, I could knock him out of this game." I don't know the answer to that.
it's you kind of hinted at it in that second part. It depends on how well he's doing.
Right.
if
And
they're
I
up,
can tell you right now, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, defenders would have been going at it. They
oh,
would have known.
100%.
Yeah. So,
But
I
Alex
mean,
Smith is a likable guy. I don't think that they're just gonna go after it just because. I think most of them will give him the benefit of the doubt as far as like I don't want to, like it's amazing this guy's back. I don't want to be the one that ends his career like or puts
Yeah.
him back in the hospital. But if they're all of a sudden down 24-7, their views might change. You know, like
Yeah.
okay.
yeah. Oops, I fell. Sorry. Didn't mean to hit your leg. But I
Right.
do think there's a different mindset in general in football than there was, I'll say back in the day.
Yeah,
So,
there's no doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt. Bounty Gate was legal back then.
right.
So yeah, it's
Absolutely.
very very different times today. But all right, so enough quarterback talk. We finally signed a wide receiver after all of these injuries, and it is Dontrell Inman. Do you even know this name?
No, when I saw it, I was like, "Who?" I heard of the one, and I'm sorry, his name is escaping me. I heard the one wide receiver that blew out his ACL or something, like just doing a draw. I can't think of his name right now, but you're saying there's other wide receiver injuries now. What am I missing?
Oh
or
well,
forgetting?
there's Cody Latimer being arrested. He was projected to make the
Okay.
team. There's Kelvin Harmon that he was the ACL. And
Right.
then there's Emmanuel Hall, who I was predicting to make the team as the sixth receiver, that blew out his Achilles.
Okay, so that's the one. I knew the guy that got arrested. So okay, I was missing.
Emmanuel
last
Hall,
one, so-
which Emmanuel
okay.
Hall was a fringe make it the team. That was kind of one of my dark horses, if you will. I knew him in Missouri watching Drew Lock play quarterback, and so I thought he had a lot of talent and could make this team. But now he blew his Achilles out, so he's not making any teams this season. But Dontrell Inman, this is what Ron Rivera had to say about him, and I'm pretty excited about bringing a young man in like that who's got some playing experience. It's a young group of wide receivers we have, and anytime we have a chance to bring in a player that has had success, we're excited about it.
Well,
And-
let me just say that from Ron Rivera's perspective, 31 is young, but in
At the NFL.
scope, Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not a young. I wouldn't call him a young player. You know, Bear. I doubt that he's would even. What's your prime? To maybe 28, 29 years from like to
Yeah,
5 years,
30 is
30
pushing it.
maybe.
30's
Yeah,
pushing it. Yeah, like that 26 to 29 range would be like your, in theory, your best years as a receiver.
right. So, but I mean, I understand they want somebody experienced. I have to be honest with you. I did not have a chance. I looked them up a little bit before the show, but didn't hear a whole lot. Didn't seem to be anything that jumped out at me like, wow, this guy is, good. But
No,
if
I'm
he's
not
bringing,
surprised you haven't heard this name. I'm not. He's barely been on the fantasy radar. I only know him because of fantasy. He's had like a game here or there that makes you seem like, oh, he's gonna be a guy that might show up, and then the next week he does nothing. He's had one season that you would say of note, kinda, which is 58 catches, 810 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I believe it was in his fourth season. And
who is that with?
that was with the Chargers.
Okay.
And outside of that, he hasn't caught more than 35 balls, and he hasn't caught more than 30 balls since 2016. So this guy's stats are nothing of like overly exciting. The only thing that I could say is like hopefully he's some sort of great locker room experienced player that can bring some knowledge to these young guys, because he's not bringing production. Like, we're not going
Right.
to get a real productive receiver.
And I
So,
assume they didn't pay a lot for him.
I didn't actually look at the contract. That's a fair question. I would hope not. I didn't even think to look at the contract because, yeah, I can't see this being more than like $1 million or $2 million at most. But
Yeah, that thought just crossed my mind that maybe they got him also because of the bar that he wasn't expensive. Although from what I was looking earlier, I don't think they. In what I was reading earlier, I didn't see any details of the contract. I don't know if that's been made. I know he's still got to pass his physical, right? So he probably will, but it's not actually official until he does that.
yeah, will sign. So, yeah, he hasn't technically been signed. It's been reported that he will sign. So, yeah, it doesn't look like there is any contract information. But, yeah, this is not going to be some $8 to $10 million player. This is a million and a half to the cap. Not a big deal as far as cap space is concerned. But I still say we need another player. Like, I would still like to go get Josh Gordon, or still like to go get somebody else. This is not any sort of answer to help our wide receiver woes. Like, he's just a guy that's going to be in the locker room.
And I think we talked about this before. So Josh Gordon's problem is he smokes pot, right?
Correct.
He wouldn't. I don't recall hearing any other locker room things or any other problems like that. It was just like he couldn't stop smoking pot.
He basically refused, like, and did not take the right precautions, I guess, to pass the tests, because there's many people that pass. Like, they say a lot of ex NFL players, you listen to them, they say that really, like, because Chris Cooley's talked about this, Pat McAfee has talked about this, that it's really a intelligence test more than anything else, because it's a 2-week period in the off season where you get tested. So, like, take your detox, don't smoke within 3 weeks or whatever. Like, just do what you gotta do for a little bit, and you can go right back to it after you pass your test. And he failed that, and then after that it gets a little bit harder because there's random tests and different things like that could take place, but he just couldn't pass it. So, but outside of that, yeah, I mean, I don't know of any like locker room issues, any teammates coming out complaining about him. Wasn't necessarily a big vocal guy in general where you heard a lot coming out of him. But yeah, I would like to go get Josh Gordon or somebody else, but Dontrell Inman is not the guy. Like,
but you're gonna have to pay for Gordon or Gordon, right? You're gonna have to pay some money for him.
There's potential there. I mean, we would have to pay more than somebody like the Seahawks or the Ravens that have a chance to win the Super Bowl,
right.
But it's not good. I don't think it's going to be necessarily some huge contract, and you actually only may get him on a 1-year deal because he's going to have to prove that he can still play. He hasn't played in about 3 years,
Right.
So
And what are you talking about? The Washington football team is got every good of a chance as any other team out there to win the Super
okay,
Bowl.
hold on. We know that. We know that. But some people on the outside don't know. Okay?
I know.
So
They
that
haven't been educated.
yeah,
I know.
exactly. So, it's unfortunate, but so
Yeah,
they don't think we have a
they do
chance.
know we're the they do know we're the champion of the off season though.
Yeah, year in and year out. We're the best
Yeah.
team in the offseason. It's a no doubter.
Nobody even comes close. But
All right.
anyway.
Yes, I hope we get somebody else. But we have another opt out this for the season, and it is linebacker Josh Harvey Clemens, who I was hoping to be one of the will linebackers for us, good lengths, but he says that he cites that he and his two sons have asthma, and he posts on social media that he says, I have to take this seriously. It's not just a common cold to me and my family. So,
Well, and as much as I think the whole thing has been hyped up, I do understand somebody with a respiratory issue that this is a respiratory virus. You can argue the seriousness of it, but you're basically talking about someone that is susceptible in, they talk about comorbidities. Well, if you have asthma, which again is a respiratory issue, and you have a virus that potentially affects or attacks your respiratory system, then I get it. Especially if he's saying his two sons have it, he's scared, has heard what they've said. So I don't hate him for it. And I can't judge him because I don't go through that. So
right. And well, somebody else who just can't seem to hide his opinions is our defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio. Have you followed
I love
any of
about
this?
him.
Yeah. He goes, so talking about, when asked about opt-outs, he goes, I have personal views that would probably not sit well with my professional occupation right now. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier about the players, quote unquote, back in the day. Jack Del Rio was a player back in the day, and they played through anything.
Anything.
They didn't care what a concussion was. They didn't care like if they had a broken bone. It was like you played, and their passion to play was above everything else. So I'm sure he doesn't get this from people. And so the fact that he was smart enough to say, look, I have my opinions, they wouldn't sit well, so I'm just going to leave it
Well,
at that.
he didn't just leave it at that. So that's what he was asked to question. But he went to Twitter and he goes, I think most players understand the risks of playing the game of football. The priority is not trying to be perfectly safe. If so, perhaps you should never drive your car.
Yeah.
And I don't care what his opinions are, because he's also posted a lot of stuff on Twitter. He's, political things or blah, blah, blah. He's posted a lot of he's a very opinionated man, and he's posted stuff on Twitter, and he's not necessarily afraid to get into those fights. And I don't care what his opinions are, just like I don't care about what the athletes' opinions are about their political views. I just want to watch football, and I just want the Redskins and the Washington football team to win games, right? That's what I care about. But I hope that he does not keep running his mouth to the point where people want to cancel him, and then all of a sudden we feel the need that we have to get rid of one of the best defensive minds we've had in a long time, possibly ever, in our team's history. Like, Jack Del Rio is a fantastic defensive coordinator. I just hope his Twitter does not all of a sudden get him in a boat where it's like the players turn against him, and all of a sudden now we're in a position where the players don't respect him and the players don't want to play for him, and now we have to get rid of this fantastic coach because he feels the need to keep talking on Twitter.
No, I get what you're saying, and in regular times, I think what he said was very diplomatic, that he was basically saying that football is not a safe sport in general. If you're expecting to be 100%, then maybe you shouldn't be playing football. And the way he put it was not like necessary. He didn't say, I think, so-and-so is wrong, or I think they should do that, or I think that. He just made a very general statement that said, I think most people know that what you risk playing in football, and that trying to make it safe is not the object. You can't do that. So if you're looking to do something that's completely safe, then of course his comparing it to driving a car, as I think we had a conversation a number of weeks ago, that anything anybody does for fun or for anything involves a certain level of risk, and they size up that risk or determine and whether or not that risk is acceptable to what they want to do. Like you said, flying in an airplane, there's a risk. Driving in a car, there's a risk. Climbing a mountain or going in the ocean, there's a risk. So you have to weigh the risk.
I don't disagree with anything with Jack Del Rio said. I don't disagree with this at all.
I know what you're getting at.
It's not that I disagree with him or have problems with his opinions or anything like that. It's just like the players, right? Where it's like all of a sudden they start running their mouth on Twitter, or what's his name? DJ Swearinger. All of a sudden start running his mouth to the media. Like, it's like, I don't care. I don't necessarily even disagree with what you're saying, and I don't care even if I disagree. I don't care what you're saying. I just don't want you to not be on this team.
Well, I know what you're, and again, I know what you're saying. I think Swearinger is a little bit different because he was much more direct and a lot less diplomatic, and basically called out management in a very direct way. It was there was no generalizations in what he said. And I agree with you that Jack Del Rio is someone that can get his mouth in gear before he's thinking. And so to your point, I hope he doesn't get to the point where he's in some conversation and he ends up slipping up and saying something that was better left unsaid, and then it ends up biting him and the team, and they're like, well, we had to let him go. So I do understand your point.
Yep. Well, so there's one more thing football related that has something to do with our team, and Jordan Reed was actually signed by the San Francisco 49ers. Mr. Concussion Man. And my friend Jake found this tweet, and he read it to me earlier today that I thought was funny. He goes, if someone told you about 7-8 years ago that Kyle Shanahan, Trent Williams, and Jordan Reed were competing for a title, you would think the Redskins were doing pretty good.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Not the case.
All right, I'll ask you this question. Assuming that we have a season, because right now, and just to jump off real quick on the side of that, Odell Beckham Jr. is now an active voice in saying that the season should be canceled, and why are they trying to press forward? But so the season is not at all definite, but assuming they play 16 games, what is the over-under in the number of games Jordan Reed plays in?
4.
I don't think it's that far. I might go up a little bit than that, but that's not far off. It's whatever the over/under, it's well under 8.
Yeah.
He's not going to play half the season. And to your point, he'll be lucky if he plays a quarter of it, because he's going to end up getting hit again. He's going to get a turf toe. He's going to get. It just seems like injuries. And that one while he was out because of turf toe for like a year and a half, like he couldn't get the toe. And I understand. Don't get me wrong. The big toe is huge in cutting and everything that you do. It is critical to someone like that. But I mean, that's who he is. I mean, there's going to be some injury, or he's going to get another concussion, and he's going to be in concussion protocol. And quite frankly, if he gets another concussion, they may say you're done, because he's had like 7. I mean, it's something.
I don't know how he's.
High.
Yeah, I don't know how he's not done already. Like I said in here, he needs to retire because of all the concussions that he's had, and I don't know how he got signed again. It's really incredible. But the fact that he was signed by San Francisco, if he is healthy at all, we're looking at the best tight end duo since Gronk and Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
I mean, because George Kittle was an absolute monster. He was the highest rated Pro Football Focus grade last season. He can do everything you need at the tight end position. And Jordan Reed is one of the best pass catching tight ends in the league. I mean, this guy can run routes just as good, if not better, than every other tight end in the entire league. He's got great speed, great quickness, great cuts, great hands. He can one hand catch it. He's got good size. I think he's like 6'4". Like he's got everything you need in a tight end, except the fact that he could not block worth a lick.
I was just going to say that. So they bring him in 2 tight end sets and let Kittle be the one that's the blocking tight end.
Yeah, definitely put Jordan Reed on the backside of the play and just kind of let him wall somebody off, because you do not want him at the point of attack. But yeah, this could be a huge signing for San Francisco as far as, like, that's another one I didn't look up. What was the contract on that? That's a good question. I'm going to look that up real quick. Jordan. Because, if this contract's small, this could be a huge, huge upside.
It can't be that big, because I don't think there was a lot of other teams that wanted to touch him because of the concussion thing. So I'd be surprised if it was more than a couple, $2-3 million. Yeah, and it might be too early for them to be posting salaries too, but I don't know.
Maybe he's similar to Dontrell Inman, that he has to pass the protocol or something, or pass the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it yet. It looks like they haven't posted a actual deal. It just says a 1-year deal. It doesn't say for how much yet. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, if this is something small, like a $1 to $2 million deal, or $3 million, probably don't even get him for $3 million, to be honest. It's probably a $1 or $2 million deal, and the upside on that is absolutely huge, because he's healthy. He could be worth $10 million.
Yeah, how old is he now? Like getting close to 30 or 30?
I don't think he's quite 30 yet, but he's getting close.
Yeah, he's got to be well up into his 20s.
Oh, no, he's 30. He just turned 30 last month.
Yeah, so that's, again, we're falling on the back end of his prime. He hasn't played one complete full season. Did he play at all last year?
No.
I forget. I didn't think so, but nope. I wasn't sure. Last year seems so long ago. but yeah, so he's 1 year out of playing at all. He hasn't played half a season. I doubt maybe he's gone to 8 games or more before. I would bet the under on that too, so yeah, I mean, they're taking a gamble. If they got him for cheap, then maybe they sit him on the bench and keep him as a backup in case something happens to Kittle. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
His entire career, he hasn't started more than 8 games, but it says here that he played 14 games in 2015.
Oh, okay. So 6 of them he didn't start.
Which is odd. I don't know who started in his place, but I guess maybe we just didn't start with a tight end. Maybe that's all.
So 2015 would have been his 3rd year, right?
Correct.
Because at 30, so yeah, about 30. Okay. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
For sure. All right. Well, we'll go ahead with a little Nats update. You've been watching any Nats games?
I have to be perfectly honest. I haven't watched much of any baseball other than a few restaurants or places I've been in eating dinner that they happen to have a game on. And I found it amusing that I was watching a Mets-Braves game and they had seat covers that were people. Did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and actually they showed it close up. One of them was a dog, but they basically had in the first 5 or 6 rows they posted fake people. So when you saw the batter was up, it looked like at first glance like there was people in the stands. It was quite comical. But I have not gotten into baseball yet.
Fair enough. It's early. We got plenty of time till playoffs. But after the slow start, we talked about their slow start last year. They started off the season 1-4 because we left off with they were in the middle of the Blue Jays game and they ended up losing that one 5-1. But they have since turned it around a little bit and they've won the last 3 in a row. They beat the Blue Jays 4-0, where it was actually a 0-0 game until the 10th, and they blew up for 4 runs in the 10th inning. Max Scherzer went off for 7 1/3 innings with 3 hits and 10 strikeouts, no runs. Then they played the Blue Jays again, where they beat them 6-4, giving the newly acquired Hyun. I don't ever know how to say his name. Hyun Jin Ryu. He played for the Dodgers. Hyun Jin Ryu. I'm gonna go with. I know who he is. I just could never pronounce his name. But he played for the.
I think it's Yoon Jin, but I don't know that. Don't know. I don't.
Yoon Jin Ryu, maybe. Yoon Jin Ryu, maybe it's you. I have no clue. But point is I know who he is though, because he was an absolute baller the last couple years for the Dodgers. Last year he threw for a 2.32 ERA, and the year before that he threw for a 1.97. He went 14-5 last year as far as a win-loss record. So he's a fantastic pitcher, but the Nats gave him the business in his first start with the Blue Jays with 5 earned runs. Right now he's sitting in an 8 ERA. So the Blue Jays are surely disappointed with his first start as a Blue Jay. I'm sure they paid him a pretty penny after the great last couple seasons he's been having. And this was not a great showing for the great Yoon Jin Ryu. But
by the way, I looked it up. It's pronounced Hyun Jin Ryu.
Hyun Jin Ryu.
Yes.
I'm going to mess that up the second time I say it.
Hyun Jin Ryu.
Hyun Jin Ryu. Absolute beast, but he was not a beast yesterday. Yesterday. This was actually a while ago, because we were supposed to have a few more games against the Marlins, but right now the Marlins are on a 2-week hiatus because of Corona. So
oh my God, they got a Corona case. I mean, oh, come on, I'm not even going down that road.
It's more than one. I think they actually had like quite a few, maybe 10 to 15 cases. Like, apparently, a lot of their players had it.
Yeah, I know, but my question is how many of them actually have symptoms and how many of them are sick? And they're young, healthy people. Deal with it. Let it make it through your locker room, and you'll never have to deal with it again. And none of them, as far as I know, none of them are even showing symptoms, and I know none of them are in the hospital. So just let it, like I said, let it run its course. In a couple weeks, every single player in the locker room will have had it, and they'll be done with it. Now, if you have an old manager, maybe you're saying, oh, we don't want him to get it. That's fine. It's too late. He's already been exposed to it. But just
wear a mask.
Let it take its course. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
But
well, because we skipped those games, we took some days off, and we ended up playing the Mets yesterday, which we won 5-3. All 5 of the runs coming in the first 3 innings. Another good game, so we led the whole way. But we are now currently...
I'm sorry, refresh my memory. How many games are they playing this year? What did
60.
they end up with?
60.
It is 60. Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. And right now they are currently playing the Mets, and it is 2-1 Mets in the bottom of the 5th with, excuse me, the Nats up to bat. They have a runner on third with 0 outs. So hopefully we get a tying run here.
And by the way, one other thing I wanted to ask is Juan Soto in the game, because I had heard a few days ago that he came down with COVID. So do they have him isolating and not letting him play?
Nope. Actually, he scored the run. He got the RBI. Soto doubled to left and scored. Eaton scored. So Soto is playing.
I know time goes by fast, so maybe it's been a while longer than I think. But I thought it wasn't all that long ago that I heard rumor that he had COVID. And I'm sorry, but he's doing what I think he should do is, yeah, so what? He's a 24-year-old. Is he 24? Or did he start before? Did he graduate? Did he come out of college or he came out early? I can't remember now.
He's young. I know that. I don't know exactly how old Juan Soto is.
I think he was, now that I think about it, I think he was like 21 years old last year or 22.
Yeah, he was extremely young last year to win the series.
So this whole, just you're strong, you're healthy.
Yeah, he's still 21 years old right now. He turns 22 in October. Okay.
So, newsflash. Juan Soto, you are not going to die from COVID. So, anyway.
You never know. Hey, there's a 0.001% chance, Dad. You can't say you're not.
That's right. Anybody want to make a bet for $50 million? somebody out there, I'd take that bet. I can't cover it, but I'll win it anyway.
Yep.
But
Well, it's
anyway,
good to see the Nats. They're back to 500. Hopefully, they can get a W here against the Mets and try to repeat. Get this repeat. It's only 60 games, so you can't start 19-32 like you did last year, or 19-31.
let me do the math there. No, you're right.
Yeah, like they have to make it a better season out the gate.
Yeah.
All right. Well, somebody who did not make it a better season out of the gate, and that is the Wizards. Good grief. The Wizards are so bad. So they came in, I don't know if you remember this. They came into the what do they call them?
Yeah, like 4 games out or something. 4
The
games.
expedition games. I can't remember the proper name now. The play-in games. They came in only 4 games behind the Magic. Then they were 4.5 games behind the Nets. So they just had to gain 1 game on either one of those teams, and they would have a play-in series for it. Well, the Nets were looking like they were not going to do anything in these play-in games because their whole starting lineup plus 1, I think it was 6 guys, did not show up to the bubble for a multitude of reasons that they did not want to come. And some injuries, some COVID, some social justice, they were all over the map. And so the Nets looked like they were just going to tank these 8 games. Well, the Nets beat the Wizards and also beat the Bucks. So the Nets are actually 2-1 in these, and the Wizards are 0-3. And if you watch the Wizards, they are so bad right now. They have nobody on this team.
I'm not an expert, but I think 0-3 is not very good.
0-3 is not good at all. It's a very bad record to have coming into this restart. And I was hopeful with how bad the Nets were that they could gain a game on them and have an interesting play-in series. Now they were going to go up against the Bucks, and I had no dreams of them ever competing against the Bucks. But I thought that they had an easy chance of competing with the Nets, who are just bad. But the Wizards are so much worse. Like, their bigs are terrible. They only have their first round pick, Hachimura, and outside of that, the rest of the team is just not good at all. Like, without Beal, without Wall, and without Bertans, like, this whole team is just so bad. So
Beal's out.
Yeah, he apparently had a lingering shoulder injury that he decided to sit out, and I think this was totally because he's looking for a big contract and he didn't want to re-injure it on a crappy team going into a playoffs. So he did not come down to play. But yeah, no, it's just the Wizards are so done. I don't know if you've watched any of these games out of here, but I
have not gotten the sports gear going. Mainly what I'm paying attention to is watching the NFL waffle about what they're going to do, and I just haven't had other than when I'm out and it happens to be on a TV somewhere, I'll pay attention, but I just haven't switched into sports gear and historically, in all fairness, I don't watch a lot of early baseball, and so normally this time of year, I'm other than just kind of paying attention to the record. It's not until it gets into like September when it starts getting playoff time that the same thing I did last year. I just kind of pay attention to their record, but especially, and I know this year is different, but 160 games, 162 games, whatever it is, I'm not watching 162 games of baseball. I'll catch them every now and then and just pay attention. And then if they're interesting when it comes to the end of the season, like the Nats last year, then I started watching every game in the last 25 games of the season when it was really in crunch time, and then I really became focused. So basketball is the same thing. That it just
there's too many games. There's too many games.
And football is the only sport, quite frankly, that I care about the playoffs or anything once the Redskins are out. When the Nats are out or the Wizards are out, or I mean, I can't say was Golden State, Cleveland, that was an interesting championship series. So there's things that I watch, but for the most part, if my team's not in it, I couldn't care less who wins it. Like
Yep.
the World Series, I'm not watching the World Series if two teams that I don't care about are in it. I just don't.
I hear you. It was fun watching the World Series last year though with the Nats. It was a good time watching
Oh,
them face the
absolutely.
Astros. So,
100%.
but yeah, I'm with you. I don't watch baseball much at all. But I do root for the Nats, and I hope they continue to make this turnaround this season. But
And one other thing I
okay,
wanted to say about basketball before we leave this subject is I think it was the guy from the Magic that stood for the national anthem because of his two brothers. There was a number of reasons why he chose to stand, and his teammates supported him, and I really liked seeing that. But for the backlash of from the outside, I felt like it was just, I wanted to say appalling, but maybe it's just ridiculous that you're actually questioning somebody now because they're making a choice to stand for the national anthem. And I believe both his brothers are in the armed forces. That he feels a very strong bond to them, and that he said he couldn't bring himself to kneel in front of the flag because of what his brothers are doing. And I thought, hey, who can complain about that? And yet, damn if they didn't.
so somebody will always find a complaint. But it was also nice to hear Charles Barkley speak up on that. I don't know if you caught him talking about after
I saw the headline. I didn't read the article.
I watched it live, and I was kind of surprised about it. But he basically said, like, because it was right after the first game, and right after the first game's national anthem, and everybody knelt in solidarity and everything like that. And Charles Barkley said, "I'm really glad that everybody's in solidarity with each other. That's great, but let's not condemn or shame anybody that does not feel the need to want to kneel for the anthem and instead wants to stand for the anthem. Like, do not crap on them." And of course, he caught heat from the Twitter sphere. That
Yeah, and like I said, the irony of when Colin Kaepernick knelt, and they all came out and said, basically lay off him. He's got a right to feel like he feels, and he's got a right to do what he wants to do, and he feels strongly about this. So just give the guy a break. And then when the roles are reversed, these same people are bashing somebody who is just expressing his very strong beliefs. And excuse me, you can disagree with them, like with Colin Kaepernick. But I can see their argument of, hey, look, the guy's got the right to make his decision, give him a break. And yet, like I said, the same people now are hammering this guy because he did the opposite of what the crowd was doing. And what, you don't like the first question he got after the game, the reporter asked him, "So you don't care about Black Lives Matter?" And he just looked at him and went, like, what?
are you stupid?
That's your first question after a game is, so you don't care about Black Lives Matter? It's like, give me a break. It is so hypocritical what these people do. And anyway, I've said enough about it. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
But,
No, I'm just under the thing that everybody's everybody's partisan. They only care about their issue, and if it helps their issue, they like it. If it doesn't help their issue, they don't. It happens on both sides. Everybody doesn't care about actually what most people don't have a principle on, like, okay, this is what I agree with and this is what I don't agree with. I don't care what your side is, as long as you do these things, I agree with you. They're just like, okay, what pushes my narrative forward? And if it does that, I like you. If it doesn't do that, I don't like you. And I think that everybody should just own it. Actually, I think I'm starting to feel just own it. I don't care. Like, just say,
and this,
I don't like your politics, and I don't like what you're doing because I don't like your politics, and that's it.
Right. Yep. And I will say this, that I heard, it's not the first time I heard it, but this guy I listened to basically said about defending somebody that you disagree with for the right, to give them the right to voice their opinion. And one of the examples he gave was the couple in, and I can't remember the city now, where they were brandishing their gun. They weren't really. They were standing in front of their house, and the mob was trying to get to the mayor's house, and they stood on their front porch or their front lawn with a rifle and a handgun, and they're in trouble now. And apparently they're liberals, and this guy is conservative, and he said, He goes, I don't agree with what they stand for, but I 100% defend what they did, and I'm going to back them up. And he goes, the reason why you do that is because right now it's somebody that you disagree with. So you could stand behind them going, yeah, go ahead, get them. Next, it's going to be you, and then you're going to be looking around wondering why nobody is defending you. And that's what people have to remember is right now it's off in the distance and you don't see it. But soon, if you let that happen, then eventually it's going to become you, and you're going to look around and everybody else is going to be silent while you're being singled out. And that's why you defend people that you disagree with.
Right.
Ideas or whatever.
Well,
all right, I'm off the soapbox now.
Well, the last thing that I have here is that the NHL playoffs started in the last couple of days. The Caps did play their first game. They lost 3-2 to the Tampa Bay Lightning, but these games I don't think have any strong merit. Oh, you know what? They might have like a round robin where they decide which position they end up in. Now I can't remember now. We talked about it a long time ago of how the playoffs were set up.
You said it was playoff games. Do you mean it's pre-playoffs or?
Well, the Capitals, the Capitals are in that top 4, so they were not playing legit games.
Oh, so they're playing, but just to keep themselves active. They're not
Correct.
trying to make it.
Well,
okay, I got you.
now because there was 12 teams from the West and 12 teams from the East. Those 8 teams that are outside the top 4, they're playing legit playoff series right now to get into the real playoffs, if
right,
you will.
I get it.
Yeah, so they're going in, but the Caps in their essentially a warm-up game, they play. They lost 3-2. Kuzi got a score 1, and then also Richard Panik got a score in the game. But yep, it went into overtime actually, and they lost 3-2 to the Lightning. But yeah, other than that, that is what I got for a show, and it was fun. You got anything else?
Once again, you did a great job at scraping up the dregs when nothing really interesting is going on, and we managed to talk about stuff for nearly an hour. And hopefully we didn't bore the people silly, but eventually we're going to have really good topics to talk about.
I know. I can't wait for games to start. But thank you again for you guys staying till the end. Put some comments down there. Like the video. Share the video. We're up to 80 subs. Thank you so much for subbing to the channel. Let's keep it growing. This show also had the most views and most watch time last week, so we're moving right on up, and things are doing good, and thank you guys for that. And is there anything else you want to say before we go?
Nope, I'm good. Everybody have a good night. We'll see you
ya.
next time.